Please introduce yourself, and I'd like to hear your story about your meeting with was it a Voodoo Priestess?
A Voodoo Priestess, yes.
In America.
That's right, that's right. My name is Caroline Graham, and I was with my husband, and we were on a great tour of America for holiday, because celebrating an anniversary. And you know how it is. You're in the hotel and you look up stuff that you can go and see and do. And in this little brochure was the idea of going to visit a Voodoo Priestess in her sort of temple thing, place. Didn't know anything about it, except, received wisdom of a lot of bits of animals and stuff, and usually quite dark doings. You think of voodoo, sticking pins in dolls and all that malarkey. I was pretty much ignorant of it all, but forever on the spiritual quest to see what was what, I said, oh, let's go and do this. And we booked in, and we were taken. There was a group of us, quite a lot of people, about 20 or 30 people, and we all filed and sat down either on the floor or in various chairs about, and sure enough, there she was, a wonderful black lady who, her sort of opening gambit was that she felt that it was a good idea to open up her place to explain exactly how things work, and the fact that it is to do good works for the community. But interestingly, she said, if you'd asked me 10 or 15 years ago whether I would end up as a Voodoo Priestess, she said, I'd have laughed at you. She said, my background is I picked cotton in the fields in the southern states, and then I trained to become a nurse, she said. And I guess she got what would be our equivalent of the call to do the work. So there she was, and she said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to channel what I feel are the questions in the room, or the reasons why you've all come, and be inspired from your thoughts. And sure enough, she began to sort of move almost rhythmically and became very, very fluent and very expansive and so on. And I thought, yeah, this isn't quite how she began with her nature and her presence. It was like she was filtering, or being, in American Indian parlance, the hollow bone, if you like, for channeling information. And she also explained about Christianity coming into the voodoo realm, and how many of the symbols were adapted, and so you have this sort of juxtaposition, rather like we have in things like mistletoe at Christmas and stuff like that, stuff absorbed into later religions from the pagan heritage, as it were. Anyway, it got quite interesting, because she would go round and she would point up people in the audience, oh, you are so-and-so, or you are interested in so-and-so. And she was right. And then she turned to me and she said, you are a seeker. And that resonated with me a lot, because at that time I was very much hunting for the unseen. I had always straddled the arts and sciences, and with the rise of quantum theory and explaining all the stuff that is difficult to explain, and of course sensing the unseen in life in terms of energetics. I was a singer. Still am, but I was a professional singer, and you're dealing with the flow of energy, and so of course you're interested, and of course you're looking. So she said, yes, you're a seeker. And then she proceeded on and so forth. And in the end, she finished, and it was very warm atmosphere, and people started to file out. It's typical of me to linger. And so I was actually last to leave. And she came to me and I said, I wanted to thank you for your talk and so forth. And suddenly she put her arms round me in a tight embrace. And we were like two firecrackers. Woof! There was this energetic charge which shot us apart. And she said, she said, you're the same as me. And I think of it now and I get tears in my eyes because emotionally I knew the truth of it. And I'm not saying that I go into being a voodoo priestess, but it was like recognizing like. And I came out in a mess, like I'm sort of getting in now, explaining this to you. And I was, goodness, because my husband had remained outside. He said, you can go in. He said, I don't want to go in, he said. He's kind of, about these sort of things. But he's very happy if I'm happy and delighted for me to have that experience. So, of course, I wanted to clear myself before going back to him because he would think that I had been upset by some ghastly sort of thing. But actually, it was tears of joy and of feeling a sense of rightness or corroboration, provenance, for the fact that my path was not illusory, and so that I could proceed with gusto, as it were. And I did go on to do things like experiencing the wonderful work of the Sacred Trust in this country, run by Simon Buxton, who wrote a terrific book about the way of the bee, which is the Hellenic heritage of shamanic practice in Europe. And I did do various things, and I could have gone on to do their 3-year practitioner course, but I didn't. And I then went into acupuncture because it's energy training, essentially, working with the energy within somebody's body. And from there into healing work. I say healing advisedly, really to become the hollow bone that I spoke of earlier, whereby the light, the healing light, can simply travel through the hands to help somebody, not to heal myself. Nobody does that. It is simply that you are a conduit. And so there we are. This is where it has led to this day. Thank you for listening.
Great. I'm going to ask some more few questions.
Yes,
if
of
that's okay.
course. Yes.
Do you remember the name of this priestess, this voodoo?
I don't. I don't.
No.
Names are shocking with me, and it was a long time ago, but she has remained in my mind.
Which part of America was it?
In New Orleans.
New Orleans,
Yeah, it was
okay.
in New Orleans. Yeah. Quite central, in fact. Right. Central enough to walk to it from the hotel and,
I see.
You know, so forth. And
Okay.
so on, so.
And this electrical feeling you had,
That was extraordinary. How did it manifest? Well, literally, we couldn't have sustained the embrace. It was like, you know, it was, and right through you, right to earth, you know, bling in down.
Okay.
Lightning, literally lightning.
But this was a lady who had what you'd call a regular life before she became a...
Yes,
a voodoo
absolutely.
priestess.
As she said, you know, she said if you'd asked me years ago whether I'd end up doing this, she said I'd have laughed. You know, I mean, extraordinary, really.
Yeah.
And comforting, actually. Comforting in that it is, any work like this is open to everyone if you want it. If you want it. It's no, oh, they're special, you know, You know, this is a very human pastime.
If you would like to learn more about Genki health, check out this book, The Genki Self-Health Guide. Improve your body and mind with traditional Oriental medicine.